Hey guys, welcome to Wrench Drive. This is a quick blast with my Senton 3S running a 3665 brushless motor with the Arma 4S big heavy slipper clutch, big metal slipper clutch, street tires. Suspension's pretty firm. As you can see, it slides around like crazy. Top speed, nothing too silly. It goes about 60 kilometers an hour, but roughly 40 miles an hour. As you can see, it slides around at a fairly stupid level, guys. A little hard to control. These tires are Shoe Goo'd. If you have a look at some past videos that I made, I'll show you how I did it. And it's not 100% success, guys. I'm going to do another version of this very shortly here that I think will work better. With these cheap tires, the main reason you need the Shoe Goo is that the sidewalls are really soft. If you don't run the Shoe Goo, I think these tires probably only have maybe half an hour's worth of running in them, maybe 45 minutes. If you're like me and you got a heavy finger, because they do wear out fairly quickly, guys. But with the Shoe Goo stiffening up the sidewalls, I have about 2 hours worth of running on these things. As you can see, they will lay down a little rubber. I didn't want to go too crazy, and I ended up tearing up one of them. Anyway, so what are you gonna do? This thing is a little hard to control in this configuration, guys. Part of it's the setup, it's definitely not perfect, but part of it is also that this motor makes an absolute insane amount of power. Here I'm dialing back the wick a little bit, just turning the dual rate back a little to get a little less power, guys. It actually made a huge difference. The level of controllability improved pretty substantially, guys. It doesn't show super well in the video, but I can tell you it made a big difference, guys. So the lesson here is that stupid amounts of power are not necessarily your friend. And I'm going to have this thing out very shortly, running just that 5200 kV brushless motor that I showed you in the very first upgrade level on this Senton Mega, guys. And I think it's actually going to work pretty well, because when you put a little Shoe Goo on the tires, they're not quite as grippy as they are stock, and that means that 5200 kV motor is probably going to have enough power to slide the car around a little bit. And my prediction is, and we'll see if it holds up or not, that it'll actually be a little more controllable and still have enough power to do some sliding around, guys. We'll see if I'm right or not. One thing you can see here is that when you show a little restraint, this thing actually doesn't handle bad in terms of overall driving performance, guys. You could get this thing around a track at a pretty high rate of speed the way it's set up. So when I'm having trouble putting the power down, it's purely that I'm heavy fingered, and when you mash it, the back end is very, very loose, very, very twitchy. So, you know, it's just like real cars, guys. There's a point where you got too much power, and if you can't control it, you got problems, guys. One of the things that's interesting about, you know, the Ducati Veyron and, you know, some of these crazy powerful cars these days, guys, you know, 1,000 horsepower cars. The thing that's really interesting is that without the computer, without the computer controlling the fuel injection and the computer controlling the traction and everything, you really can't use that much power, guys. Back in the day, there were plenty of cars that made a lot of power, and they were virtually undrivable, guys. That was the problem, because, you know, they didn't have computers. They barely had fuel injection half the time, and when you had too much power, you really couldn't use it very effectively. Well, this thing seems to be very similar, guys. It's got just a stupid amount of grunt, guys. It just spins the tires on a whim, and that is not ideal when you're trying to drive the car. So my prediction is with that 5200 kV motor, it's actually going to improve quite a bit. See, there you can see, you get a little too frisky on the throttle and it spins out just on a whim, guys. And that's just spinning the tires, guys. That is not that they're fundamentally that lacking in grip, guys. Over there's a bunch of gravel too, the far edge there. If you get a little too frisky, you hit the gravel and it's like getting on the marbles and slide all over the place, guys. As you can see, the thing definitely gets up and goes. This motor is an absolute beast, like I said, guys. I mean, it's impressive. The other thing that'd be interesting is I am actually kind of tempted to throw in that 26 tooth pinion gear, that super high speed Arma pinion. I think the sweet spot's probably the 20, guys, because that would gear this thing up to about what would that be? 65 miles an hour, something like that. 60? No, is that right? Yeah, probably about 60, guys. Which, yeah, it'd be stupid fast at 60. But that would also tame the bottom end a little bit, be a little harder to spin the tires quite so easily. But, yeah, we'll see. Be some more videos coming. You can see it definitely hauls, guys. And I think here it's actually, I think the dual rate's still turned back a little bit, guys, so it actually has just a little more top speed if I recall correctly. Yeah, it definitely moves, guys. Worth mentioning, actually, at the end of this run, I don't think I showed it, but I did actually break one of my 3D printed steering knuckles, and it's kind of interesting because it snapped right where the steering arm attaches, and it actually broke along a layer line, guys. So it was more of a printing defect than a true breakage, guys. It didn't actually break on a crash. It just kind of, I was driving and it pulled another one of those off into the weeds type maneuvers there, and when I went to get it out, it was like, oh, look at that, it broke the steering knuckle. And then when I actually took the car apart finally, it had actually broken the knuckle at the bottom screw hole and at the steering link mount, guys. So yeah, it did a little bit of damage. But I think, like I said, more of a print defect than an actual problem, guys. So yeah, they hold up not bad. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Wrench to Drive, where we ask the eternal question: do you drive to wrench, or do you wrench to drive?